l'enfant né.
Hey everyone. So I'm Maxime, product manager growth at Buffer, and I'm happy to share some learnings from the growth team. So a couple of words about Buffer. So does anyone have heard about Buffer before by chance? Okay. Does anyone using Buffer? And does anyone paying for Buffer? Or? Nobody. Oh. Okay, cool, thanks. So we're a social media management tool that helps you connect and organize all your social media profiles and schedule your posts and analyze them and collaborate with your team. So basically, we send the right message to the right social network at the right time for you. Couple of words about Buffer the company. We have a strong culture, so we have fully transparent. It means that everything is public on the web. So you can find our salaries, you can find term sheets with investors, you can find roadmaps and data. So if you're really interested about data, we have barometrics dashboards public on the web. So every data I would share with you tonight are public. And the second thing is we are fully distributed. So we are a team of 80 people spread across 20 countries. So we have no office at all. So it means that we are working for different locations. So it's really cool. And we also being able to travel during the working. So that's really, really cool. So quick stats on the company right now. We have 10 million. So last month, we reached 10 million in annual recurring revenue. We have like 3.3 million unique registered visitors, and more than 50,000 paying customers. We have 3 different plans. So the first plan is individual plan, so it's free basically. The second one is an awesome plan for $10 a month, and the third one are business plans, so from $99 to $390. And the average revenue per awesome user is around like 120, and for business is like 560. So as Com said, growth is a process. It's not trick. So the growth team, so we went from a different model. So a couple of weeks ago, we decided to move from an old model. So we had product creators at Buffer, and they were taking care of growth and making sure that we are doing some new features. So it was really challenging for them to do the growth and the new features. So we decided to move to another model. So now we have a dedicated growth team. So we, like 1 month ago, we started the growth team, and so it's really like how to choose people to start a growth team. It was like, we definitely think that we have some generalist people in the company, and you have some very specific people. And the generalist people are people like they can jump on design, they can jump on business call, they can code as well. So we have this mindset among the growth tribe. So right now we have 1 designer, 1 customer developer, 1 engineer, 2 engineers actually, and I'm the product manager. So it's really important in terms of process. The first step you have to do is to set up a goal for like 40 or 60 days. So we really like big fan of Brian Balfour growth machine methods, and Ethan Shah he has a great video around A/B test for startups, so you can watch it. So I'm not sharing new things, but it's really, we're really thinking that you have to adapt the growth model to your own company, your own team, because it's really important. So the first thing you have to do is set up a goal for 40 or 60 days. Then weekly, you have a process like going from metrics, hypothesis, and experiment and analysis. So that's what I'm going to share with you. So the first step was for us to set up some goals when we started the growth tribe, and how to set up the goals. So we look at the funnel we had at Buffer. So basically we have 5.5 million unique visitors every month, thanks to the great content marketing we are doing. So I think like more than 80% of the traffic is coming from this content marketing. We have like 100,000 new sign-up every month and more than 3,500 new paying customers every month. And if you want to go from like the awesome plan from $10 or the individual plan to business, you have to start a trial. So it's a very basic trial. You have 30 days, it's free, and you can start the trial. And from this trial, we have more than 6,000 people starting the trial every month, and we have like 5% of conversion rate from this trial. So we slightly decreased the conversion rate from March to May, because we I think in January we made an experiment and we found that maybe we could increase the number of the business plan. So we decided to double the price of the business plan. So we decreased the conversion rate, but we doubled the monthly recurring revenue. So that was a really good move. And so when you set up your goal, you have to be careful about setting up metrics that will have a great impact for your company. So regarding all the metrics we have, we decided that the goal will be the buffer for business trial conversion rate. So B4B is for buffer for business trial. And so this metric will have the most impact for buffer right now. So everything we will do we have done since 1 month is everything connected to the trial conversion rate. So just for people who never seen buffer, so buffer is looking like that. So when you're free plan, you have exactly the same apps. So you just can't access to several features, and you can only connect on the free plan. You can only connect 5 profiles. You can have 10 posts in your queue, and that I think, and you get some quick analytics. And when you're on the business plan, you have access to features called review. So it's the tab after the queue, and it's features to just add team members, so you can collaborate with your team, so someone can share something. You have the RSS feed features, and you have more analytics, and the library is a beta features, so we won't speak about that. So this is just for the context. So we're starting with the metrics. So every week we're starting with trying to have some metrics around our user. So what's the user doing with the apps? What's the path to go from individual to conversion at the end of the trial? So we are very, so there's a lot of tools. We have a tool called Looker, so to get the data. And I don't think it's a good thing to use Looker for a startup because it's really expensive. So there's a lot of tools, other tools that you can use. The only thing is to, sometimes you can just go and look at what your users are doing. So sometimes we're just going to taking like 10 users, 15 users, and looking at what was their first step during the trial. So the first week, what was the first week for them? And then we compare with an unsuccessful trialist at the end. And sometimes we found some very great data. And we also, it's really, really important to jump on a call with your customers and to ask them why did they upgrade to the business and just speak with them. It's really, really great to have some great knowledge. So what we learned was like the features I showed you earlier. So the feeds, the RSS feeds. So users who were using like adding team members and adding feeds were 3 times more likely to convert at the end of the trial. So we found something. So we jump on a call and we just learned that some of the users at Buffer were using the team members features, not for sharing with the team, but just for sharing with their customers, their clients, because they were agencies. So we never think about that. So that was really, really interesting. And based on that, you have to trying to formulate some hypotheses. So you're going to do some brainstorming. So we are doing brainstorming like almost every week. And we're trying to come up with some idea. What if we are doing that model? Or what if we are changing the CTA or whatever? So then you have to formulate your hypothesis, the famous if then do that. So if we're adding a tracker bar, then we will increase the conversion rate at the end of the trial due to the fact that the data that we found that users were 3 times more likely to convert at the end of the trial because they are using the team members features. So it could be something like that. So it's really important to have an idea of the impact of each experiment you will try to have. So for that, there's a lot of formula and solution. It really depends on the traffic you have and the type of user you have on your website, if you are a B2B app or B2C app. So after that, you have to calculate the duration of your experiment. So it's crazy. Sometimes when you're experimenting on small traffic, you have like this experiment you want to run, and when you look at the duration, you see that it will take like 7 years to gain the significance, the statistical significance. So it shouldn't be a good idea to experiment that. So at the end, you have to prioritize experiment and select some of the experiments that will have the most impact. So in terms of experiment, I won't tell you how to do an experiment because I'm sure you already know that. So running an A/B test is really simple. The one thing we're doing right now is running an AA test before running an A/B test. So two things really interesting in that is just you will find technical problem with your testing system. So sometimes you're using a testing system and it's not really great, so you will detect that. And also, you will learn your conversion pattern. So it means that sometimes when you have two groups, the A and B, first, the A winning for 3 days, and after 3 days, the B is winning. And sometimes it's totally the opposite. So it's really important to have this mindset and to know how's your data is changing over the time. So the second things we are doing is trying to track as many actions as possible, because sometimes after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you want to look at something and you forgot to track it, so and you have to do the experiment again and to stop, and you're losing time. So, and the last thing is checking data as often as possible. Is really interesting is really connected to the conversion pattern, because it's really like you're building your knowledge around your data, and maybe sometimes, so I'm checking data every day, and a lot, maybe 2 times, 3 times, 5 times a day, just to know, okay, this experiment is changing like that, or maybe even if we have very small traffic, and sometimes we have like 10 users at the end of the day, but you have this, you're seeing the data changing, and it's really like you're building your knowledge around for the next experiment. In terms of analysis, again, I won't explain you how to analyze your data, just 2 things. It's really important to keep track of everything, so we are just using a very, very simple Trello board. So we have this, I don't know if, yeah, okay. We have the very simple columns like the brainstorm, then we are moving to live, and then we're keeping the failed experiment and the succeeded experiment. So it's really important, again, in your Trello cards to have like keep track of the hypothesis, the time frame, the date when you launch the experiment, and at the end, also why the decision you made, why you decided to stop this experiment, why you decided it was a success, why you decided it was failed, because it's really important for the future. And also the learning, what did you learn from this experiment, and it will help you for the next experiment. So a couple of experiments we did from the past month. So don't forget that almost like 4 experiments on 5 are failing. So it's like very hard sometimes. We're in the middle of these steps right now. So it's really hard sometimes because you're launching a lot of experiments. We have like, I think, like 20 experiments right now live on Buffer. And it's really like you're not seeing any data changing, so it's really tough, but you have to keep pushing on that. So first experiment we run, so the contribution tab renaming. Obviously you have seen that on the screenshot I shared. So after some exploration around data and customer success, we discovered that the customer were not really understanding the contribution name of the tab. So it was the tab to just add some team members. And one of the customers said, maybe it's more like a review for us. And so we found this pattern again and again. So we decided to just test that. And we did an A/B test, so it's really simple. And so it was like releasing for every new sign-up user who are jumping on a trial business the same day. And it was was a 50-50 experiment. So we reached the significance on this test after like 3 weeks, and the new version was improving like by 35%. So it was like very interesting, and so we declared that it was a success, and the learning was sometimes very small change can lead to big impact. So 35 increase is really great. And so the second experiment we did, like the tracker bar, is like we discovered that people were jumping from the individual plan, and the awesome plan didn't have the same conversion rate. So we have like 5% conversion rate from individual to buffer for business trial, and we had 30% of conversion rate for the awesome people. So it was like, wow. So the awesome user has already the knowledge of buffer, they get the value, they understand what is buffer and why they want a business plan. So we wanted to have this kind of thinking for every user. So we didn't add any specific onboarding for the trial business. So an idea to do that very quickly was a tracker bar. So basically it's like the tracker bar you have on LinkedIn. It's like 20%, you reach 20%, 50%, or like 100%. So you just send them to use specific features. And we launched this tracker bar to increase so the engagement through the trial. So we send the people to the added team member page, to the RSS feed, etc. So we had a 50-50 experiment on trialist. And after 2 weeks, we didn't really reach the significance, but we like the new version was, so the version with the tracker bar was improving like by 20%. So because we know the conversion pattern, we were able to speed up the process and say, okay, it's okay, we can move on, and we can just release that for deploy to every trialist. So it was really key for us to understand that guiding the user, so onboarding is key. And so, yeah. So I think that was the biggest learning. And the last experiment, so the limit active session. So we exploring data, and we discovered that a lot of people had like more than 3 active sessions at the same time. So it was like, why are people doing that? And when we jump on the customer call, we discovered that some people were sharing their login and their password instead of just adding some team members. So we were, okay, let's try to maybe stop them to do that and engage them to just adding some team members. So the limit was 3 active sessions, and we showed them like a model, and we said, okay, you already log in elsewhere, so you need to unlog to log on this PC, and maybe if you want, we can just like, you can add team members if you want to share the login and password with someone. So we had this model, and we launched that on a 50-50 experiment on a random group, so it was individual awesome business. And after 24 hours, we had to stop this experiment because we received so many messages, and people were not like, wow, what's going on? Why I'm seeing this message? And so we never speak with the support team. So basically, we call them the happiness heroes, and we never speak with the heroes, and we never told them that we were releasing this experiment. So it was like very bad move for the growth tribe. And so we stopped the experiment, we apologized to user, and we discovered, so we had some learnings from that experiment. We discovered that people were sharing their login and password because they were looking for features we don't have right now at Buffer. So it's like, so the learning from that was, you can't do that. You can't block the usage of your user if you don't have a solution to offer. So we will never do that again. So, and some key takeaway: the process is key for us because before that we were doing like growth, but we were not tracking everything. We were not storing everything, and we were not really able to grow the Buffer community. And the process. So process is really key, and the second learning is really like, you can explore a lot of data, you can get a lot of data, but if you are not mixing this data with your customers' insights, it's not really good at the end of the journey, because sometimes you're discovering some data and you're trying some experiment, but it's not working at all. Small change can lead to big impact, of course, and so learn your conversion pattern. It's really key for people who have very small traffic. Like for us, for the trial conversion rate, it's a very small traffic compared to the big traffic we have on the website. So it's really important to get this conversion pattern if you want to move faster. And you have to, of course, keep iterating at the end of your journey. Thank you very much.
So you said that you are inventing features or feature changes to the app. Do you implement them yourself within your team, or do you create issues for the rest of the dev team to implement?
Your question is after an experiment or before an experiment?
Before, for instance, when you do a change to the app, do you do it yourself?
Yes. Okay. So yes, basically we have two engineers. So we when we come up with some ideas or new, like maybe not new features, but maybe new changes, like the tracker bar, we did that by ourselves. Yeah. So it was the team. So I think that was the previous model. Like we were having the people were doing growth and new features at the same time. It was not working for us, but it's working for other companies. So you have to choose between the two models.
Thanks. And also, do you blog within your team for the rest of the product, or it is another team who does evangelism on its own?
Did we blog?
Do you contribute to communication about the product?
Not yet. Maybe, yeah. Maybe at some point later, yeah.
The way you explained it, it seems that you have a very strong framework to test everything. Does it happen, or did it happen, or maybe will it happen that you will change the framework that you use with bad experiments?
So when you speak about framework, is that?
Well, I mean, when you decide that you will use a certain type of data and you will use a certain action and test the, you know what I mean?
So, not sure. Do you mean the framework for the growth or the technical?
Yeah, I mean, every time you test something,
yes.
You have these columns in which you say we're going to test this data,
okay,
and when we're going to have this objective,
yes,
and we're going to react this way.
So the question was, do we change that sometimes?
Yeah, or did you change it?
Yes, a lot. Yeah, it's changing a lot. So it like the matrix and the So the first framework, the process framework we're using, like from matrix hypothesis, and that we are not changing really much that, but inside the experiment we could change that a lot. Yeah, because sometimes you just discover that you set up some goals on some experiment, and finally it was not the good goal, so you maybe focus on the outputs of the experiment. So basically for the conversion rate, if you're launching some experiments and you have 30 days of trial, so if you for every experiment you're launching, if you're waiting like for having some conversion rate, you can't launch experiment, or you have to wait I don't know, 2 months or 3 months. So yeah, sometimes we're just changing that.
Maxime, you said that you've got users and customers in 20 countries, and when you
we have a team.
A team.
Yeah, team members. I think we have maybe more users and customers in more than 20 countries. Okay. I'm not sure.
And when you're doing your testing, are you taking into account the users and customers across different time zones, so that when you're analyzing the data on any one particular day, that you take into account that what's happening in the United States or in France or China, wherever it might be, that there's going to be different results?
That's a very great question. Yeah, we didn't do that yet, but sometimes since 1 month, because every data we get on the conversion rate, we didn't really see the needs of having this kind of splits between countries, but we are trying to check the data by countries or by language sometimes, because the website is only in English and the apps is only in English, so sometimes it can lead to different conversion rates. So that's a good point. So we we're checking the data, but we are not really using it because it doesn't make any difference right now. So on the experiment we launched in the past, maybe in the future, but.
You said you had 20 experiments at the same time. How do you prevent for one experiment not to influence on another one, on the results of another one?
Yeah, so we're thinking about overlapping. So we have two ways of avoiding overlapping. It's you can wait an experiment to finish and then start a new one. You can split like groups of users. So that's what we are trying to do. And sometimes you can just launch experiments with different goals on the same sample groups of users. And but it's really like risky, so we're trying to avoid that. So basically right now we have the 20 experiments are targeting not different group of users, but like 5 or 6 are targeting the same group of users, but we're splitting the traffic on that.
It's about something you said just before. On the question is before, you said that your site is only in English. My question would be, because we do the same, and we probably a little earlier than you. And my question is, from your experience, Anglophone countries versus non-Anglophone countries, do you see a difference in the way?
Yes, big difference. Yes.
In favor of the Anglophone countries, I guess.
English countries, yeah. So we have. It's not really right, but we have different conversion rate from the US, of course, and in different parts of the US, of course. So in San Francisco, we don't have the same conversion rate than in, I don't know, Nashville maybe. And we have different conversion rate in Europe as well. And maybe I think the UK is doing great. France is doing really great as well, on Spain. But yeah, I think there's really, it's really like we made some experimental language, but it's really hard to have translating all the apps and everything. So yeah.
So you actually did some to try to do some.
Yeah, we try with. Oh, it was not with the language. It was more with the pricing. So trying to charge people in their country's currency. So like, because we're charging everyone in dollars. So yeah, but it didn't make any big difference. So that's why we didn't move on that, because it's really long train of things to do.
Hi, you talked a lot about activation and retention. And I was wondering if it's because you focus on those two topics, or if you also do some acquisition?
No, not right now. So it doesn't, for us, for example, just for the business trial, it doesn't make sense to trying to increase the number of trial every month if we can't increase the conversion rate. So we are just focusing right now. So that's why it's really important to set up a goal at the end of your journey. It's like, you focus on these metrics and you're just doing that for like 40 or 60 days. And it's really important. And we don't do right now for the growth team any acquisition. So every acquisition we get is like traffic coming from the content. And so yeah, maybe in the future, but not now.
Que la famille.